People of Reddit who have been abducted by aliens. What's your story? Story 1. Not me, but heard this story from a friend about this fella who saw a bright light in the sky and stood there staring at it. The bright light came closer and closer, and it was a UFO. He looked at it, and it just disappeared. Thinks that's weird, then gets in his car. As he's driving, he looks in the mirror and he's suddenly got a beard. He gets home and his girlfriend is looking at him a bit funny. He says to her, "I got out of the car to look at a bright light, and when I got back in the car, I had grown a beard." She says, "Never mind the beard. Where have you been for 3 days?" Story 2. I used to think aliens were trying to abduct me. Terrified for years. Watched a documentary on sleep paralysis and realized that was what was really happening to me. From that point on, when I had sleep paralysis, I knew what was happening and wasn't as terrified. Plus, my husband started noticing the signs and would quickly pull me out of it. Answer: I used to be the same. When I was a kid, my dad let me watch Sightings, Unsolved Mysteries, and we had those Time Life books on pyramids, UFOs, Bigfoot, etc. I read books on abductions, encounters of the third kind, all that stuff. But alongside the fascination, at night I was absolutely terrified. I was afraid to go to sleep every night because I was afraid they Greys would come and get me. I still remember some of the more vivid nightmares 30 years later. Every night I would stay in bed until 1 or so when I finally dozed off. One time, I woke up to a bright red light shining in through my window. I couldn't move at all, and I thought I saw shadows in the corner of my room. After what seemed like an eternity, the light went out and I could move again. That scared me for years and years. Later, in my 20s, I would learn what sleep paralysis is and recognize that this is what had happened to me all those years ago. I've slept much better since. Also growing up and learning that all those shows were bullshit helped too. Story 3. I was abducted outside my cousin's wedding reception. It's all very hazy. There were 2 of them, and they carried these powerful hand torches they kept shining in my face. They could speak a rudimentary form of English. They kept asking questions about how much I had been drinking. I presume because Earth is a water planet, they had questions about what we drank. Contrary to popular belief about anal probes, one of the aliens kept trying to make me put my pants on, not take them off. But I couldn't find my pants just then. The other alien, who seemed to be in charge, kept talking about disturbing the other wedding guests, and he tried to abduct my champagne bottle. Their spacecraft had a lot of bright lights on it, mostly red and blue. They took me to their mothership and put me in a holding area with some other humans they had also abducted that day. The next thing I know, it was morning, and I was standing on the pavement downtown outside the police station. I was very fuzzy-headed, but physically unharmed. The whole experience gave me a terrible headache. Then I threw up on the bus. Answer: I think of it often, the sound and the light. The shadows that came in the shade of the night. The figures with lasers that hung at the hip, who forced me to put on my pants in their ship. I think of the query I whispered with woe: "Are you going to probe me?" They said to me, "No." And still I remember that curious day, when aliens find me and sent me away. Story 4. My brother-in-law says he was abducted. Don't know too much except he was out in the woods walking around. He was gone overnight. He never does that without letting somebody know that, at least, he's leaving. He was found the next morning completely stunned, on shock. He could barely talk. He never really said what happened. He won't talk about it. He said only that they performed examinations on him. His right foot now has what I can only describe as a birthmark on his right foot. It wasn't there before. That I know. It wasn't there. Now he's got a deep purple mark that covers most of his foot. UTF. Story 5. They just wanted someone to explain the rules of American football. But I've never watched it, and they got pissed at me for wasting their time. After the standard issue butt stuff, they beamed me back, but it took like 3 hours to walk home. Story 6. I have no story, no memory of it. Had an MRI and doc asked when I had back surgery. I've never had a single surgery in my life. He, Harvard grad and neurosurgeon, said I definitely have had some kind of surgery given the scar tissue along my spine. I told him that's where the probe went when I got abducted. He became oddly more serious and wasn't indicating that I was joking at all. He looked at the film a bit longer and seemed to study them deeper this time and then said, "I'd bet my education that you have scar tissue from surgery." So, no real story. Still have the scars as per my last MRI. Answer: that is pretty interesting. No chance you had surgery when you were too young to remember? For example, if you had a less serious case of spina bifida, they could have resolved those issues shortly after birth. Alternatively, there are a lot of things that could cause scar tissue in the body, like any kind of trauma that involves tissue damage. I wonder if it were arranged in such a way to look like surgery. Would be super unlikely. I assume you would have told the doctor about any back trauma. I do love that people are going to take this seriously and be like, this is unexplained? Therefore, aliens. Story 7. They took me in the middle of the night. I was out feeding the cattle under the moonlight, and then a big light came over me. Next thing I knew, I was driving down the road talking to what I later realized was my father, or the person whose body I am now, In's father. He made a joke about the time being slow, and he had seen an episode of X-Files that mentioned that time reverses when aliens abduct so they can drop you off at the same time as they picked you up. Except, I think they mixed something up because I am not in the same body I left in. I still remember my whole life before, but I am 18. Years younger in this body, so I don't really mind. But a few years after the incident, I went to see if the farm I once lived on was still there, but it took me a while to get there without suspicion. It's gone. Like it never stood. Maybe it was all just a dream. Story 8. I'm incredibly peeved that I can't find a reference for this now, but I read something that shifted my perspective on alien abduction memories. Essentially, the author posited that these are memories from early infancy that burble up and get reconstructed. A bright light, being lifted up floating, distorted human-like faces with prominent eyes, something happening to your genitalia and anus, that's a baby getting a diaper change overnight. Somewhere in our brains, those memories are stored in a form that way predates our cognitive abilities' verbal processing. So we have these wisps of feelings and images. In that sense, an abduction experience is absolutely true. I can't remember the explanation for why the memories come back out later, but overall this concept really stuck with me because it makes sense. Story 9. They were gray with big fat eyes, little mouths. They just stared while I peed. I don't think I was dealing with the top brass. I woke up, I had to pee like a camel. So I started peeing, and one of the gray aliens slapped the wall and pointed at the bowl. So I got the hint. I kinda duck-walked over the bowl, peed in it. I had the shirt I came in with, but my pants were gone. So my cuckoo was out. It's full Porky Pig in a drafty dome. I'm starting phase 2, which is me sitting on a stool while 40 gray aliens take turns gently batting my knockers. They were real respectful about it. They were in a line, and then one by one they'd step up, slap a knocker, and then go to the end of line and wait for another turn. It didn't hurt. It felt super off the books. I swear to God, there was one gray alien by a door just kind of peeking in and out. I think he was the lookout. Look, it's not one of my worst Wednesday nights. My grand exit was out of what was basically like a big airplane toilet, okay? I dropped down 7 feet on the roof of a Long John Silver's. They threw out my pants separately. They missed the roof. My slacks landed on a freaking pine tree 30 feet away. So, I had to just chill. Up there with my darn cuckoo hanging till the place opened up. Story 10. Okay, I never was abducted, but I had this extremely realistic dream probably about 6 to 8 years ago now. Can't remember exactly when, but I still remember vividly. I had gotten in bed and I didn't even remember falling asleep. Next, then I knew it felt like I was moving or being carried away by something, but it didn't feel scary. It actually felt quite peaceful, and I couldn't find it, nor did I care to. I end up laying on this cold slate, naked, in a bright room, like everything was really light gray-white, and there was a bright light coming from the other end of the room. It seemed like there was some kind of equipment or something behind me, but I couldn't turn my head to see. I felt very sleepy and out of it. Standing over me was about 3 and 4 silhouettes that were alien-like, definitely not people. They kind of looked like people, but were more lengthy. And they brought out this big probe and probed me because they wanted to make a human-alien hybrid baby to see how it would live. Felt like only a few hours went by, and they had gotten their alien baby from me, and I was sent back down, woke up. Weirdest dream ever, lol. I wonder how my little starseed alien baby is doing. Hope they are thriving. Story 11. I don't know if it was really an abduction, but my car broke down near their job site and they gave me a ride into town. They were really nice, and I already enjoyed Mexican music, and the language barrier gave me a good reason to sit quietly to myself. 1010 would take a ride from aliens again. Story 12. It was around 3:50 a.m. I'm a night person, so I usually sleep around that time. It was starting to rain outside, and there was a loud, constant gust of wind blowing through the cracks near my window. It was eerie, and I had a weird feeling that something bad was going to happen. I looked out the window and noticed nothing amiss, except that the trees were swaying pretty violently, and that one of the trees got uprooted. I turned back and saw 2 aliens by my door. They looked haggard, and their backs were bent. They also did not have any limbs, and their heads moved mechanically as though they were automatons. I noticed that the door was closed, so I presumed they had just walked through or teleported straight into my room. They were talking in some strange language that seemed to be half human and half alien, and the next thing I knew, I was being tied up in some giant opaque plastic bag. There were holes so I could breathe. Somehow, I fell into a deep and peaceful trance. When I woke up, I was in this foreign space. I could see through the holes in the plastic bag. It was as if I was in the sky and everything was floating. Then I heard footsteps. The ringleader, I presumed, came to inspect me. He unzipped the bag, and the moment he saw my face, he lets out an audible "ew" and immediately zipped me back up. The next thing I knew, I was back in my bed. Story 13. Coming back from ice fishing, the last day of the year to have ice houses on the lake. My father, sister, and I were in his truck, and his friend was towing the ice house. We were coming around the corner, and his friend was a little way back. I remember watching his headlights disappear around corner in the passenger mirror. A few seconds later, I looked at the little air intake a lot of vehicles in the late 80s, early 90s had. You could pull a lever and get some fresh airflow. I looked at that and thought everything was glowing, like I could see all the melting snow on the floor and all. Around the floor where my feet were. I thought it was crazy bizarre, so I looked up to my father to tell him, and he was looking straight forward, white-knuckling the steering wheel, and all around the vehicle there was a white light, not really blinding bright, but like all the windows were frosted and it was daylight out. I kind of shouted, maybe more concerned than anything, "Dad?" I said this a few times, and then the light disappeared, and we were stopped just around the corner where his friend's headlights disappeared. He looked too woo. He shocked and said, I think we lost Ron. Let's turn around here and see what happened. We turned around at a field approach right after the corner and drove 5 minutes back to the lake, and his friend wasn't there. Then we drove home and his friend was there. The ice house was already backed into the spot next to our garage, and his friend seemed worried. The ice house was big and hard. To back into the little spot with just one person, and Ron was already had it in place, jacked up on blocks. He said he was coming to look for us since we were almost an hour late. Traveling back to the lake to look for his friend was only a 10-minute drive. Round trip. Pretty sure we all got abducted that night. Story 14. Not an abduction, but around 2003, I was chilling on the roof, 35th floor, of the building I grew up in on Central Park West in NYC. We were looking at the moon across the river in New Jersey. All of a sudden, I start noticing this small light zipping at a ridiculous speed up and down the East River. It would zip north into the horizon. In all, it disappeared and then come back again. It did this for maybe 15-20 minutes. Then it hovered directly across the river for a few minutes and then started zipping towards us, flew overhead to the center of Central Park, south, then shot down toward Times Square and disappeared. Aliens, IDK, U.S. military drone testing, maybe, but military drones are very loud. Death scared the shoot out of me. Story 15. Eel start. Not sure if this was a dream or not, but I remember being in some kind craft facing towards one of the walls. I felt a presence behind me and was so scared I couldn't move at all. Then out of nowhere, I suddenly felt completely at ease. To my left, out of the corner of my eye, I could see a big being that almost looked like a large tardigrade behind some kind of control panel. I turned to see another being. Can't really remember what this one looked like, but I remember asking if I could ask some questions. I then received a reply which came from within my own head, no, and that's all I remember. Story 16. It was a dream, so take it how you want, but I dreamt I was standing out in a field and there was a small creature next to me that was some weird-looking animal I had never seen before. Suddenly there was that cliché beam of light, and we started floating upwards into a cliché flying saucer. The inside was all stainless steel, and off to the side was a gray alien. That alien and another were speaking to me, but they weren't moving their mouths, as in it was telepathic. They started talking about my dad randomly and showed me videos of him when he was in the Navy on a ship. He was an operations specialist. They then said they were going to show me a different dimension, but I had to prepare first. I was stripped down and sent into a small room, all stainless steel walls. The creature was still with me. They told me, she is your guide and will help you. And things will look different in the other dimension, but there is nothing to fear. I wasn't scared at all at any point in time. It felt as if I was at a healthcare facility. As the doors opened, I woke up in bed, but my eyes were closed, and I could feel a bird flying toward me. With my eyes closed, I put out my hand and could feel its feathers. It stopped flying and stood on my chest. I opened my eyes and there was a strange bird looking back at me. It looked like a hybrid between an owl and an eagle. Then I actually woke up, but everything in my room looked the same, except for the bird was gone. This all happened years ago, but by far was one of the strangest and most realistic feeling paranormal experiences, dreams I've ever had. Story 17. It was late at night. I was just starting to drift off to sleep. Then all of a sudden, I'm being dragged out my window by a blinding light coming from this huge UFO. I'm basically teleported into this ship where I see an alien looming over me. Now it was about this time when I noticed the alien wasn't an alien at all, but actually a giant creature, a crustacean from the Paleozoic era. He leans in close and tells me, I need about tree fitty. Story 18. I was never abducted, but I have a personal hat man shadow person story if you would like to hear it. Seriously frightening stuff. Story 19. No kidnappings here in Norway. Alien abductions apparently only work if your healthcare system doesn't. AE. Story 20. One time, these Canadians threw me into their van and took me to a nice restaurant and made me use maple syrup. Story 21. 10 to 2 a.m. X, Yogi DMT, and a box of Krispy Kremes in my need-to-know pose just outside of Area 51, contemplating the whole chosen people thingy, when just then a flaming stealth banana split the sky, like one would hope but never really expect to see in a place like this, cutting right-angle donuts on a dime, and stopping right at my Birkenstocks and me yelping, "Holy fudge shoot, holy 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 fudge shoot." Then the X-File being looking like some kind of blue-green Jackie Chan with Isabella Rossellini lips and breath that reeked of vanilla chig-champa did a slow-mo matrix descent out of the butt end of the banana vessel and hovered above my bug eyes, my gaping jaw, and my sweaty L, Ron Hubbard upper lip. And all I could think was, I hope Uncle Martin here doesn't notice that I pissed my fucking pants. So light in his way, like an apparition, that he had me crying out, "Fudge me, it's gotta be the deadhead chemistry." The blotter got right on top of me, got me seeing E motherfucking T, and after calming me down with some orange slices and some fetal spooning ET, revealed to me his singular purpose, he said, "You are the chosen one. The one who will deliver the message, a message of hope for those who choose to hear it, and a warning for those who do not. Me, the chosen one? They chose me, and I didn't even graduate from fucking high school. You better listen." Then he looked right through me with somniferous almond eyes. Don't even know what that means. Must remember to write it down. This is so real. Like the time Dave floated away. See, my heart is pounding. 'Cause this shoot never happens to me. I can't breathe right now. It was so real. Like I woke up in Wonderland all. Sorta terrifying. I don't want to be all alone. While I tell this story, and can anyone tell me why you all sound like Peanut's parents? Will I ever be coming down? This is so real. Finally, it's my lucky day. See, my heart is racing. 'Cause this shoot never happens to me. I can't breathe right now. You believe me, don't you? Please believe what I've just said. See, the dead ain't touring. And this wasn't all in my head. See, they took me by the hand and invited me right in. Then they showed me something. I don't even know where to begin. Strapped down to my bed, feet cold and eyes red. I'm out of my head. Am I alive? Am I dead? Can't remember what they said. God darn. Shoot the bed. Overwhelmed as one would be. Placed in my position. Such a heavy burden now to be the one born to bear and bring to all the details of our ending, to write it down for all the world to see. But I forgot my pen. Shoot the bed again. Typical. Strapped down to my bed. Feet cold and eyes red. I'm out of my head. Am I alive? Am I dead? Sun-kissed and Sudafed. Gyroscopes and infrared? Won't help. I'm brain dead. Can't remember what they said. God darn. Shoot the bed. I can't remember what they said to me. Can't remember what they said to make me. Out to be the hero. Can't remember what they said. Bob, help me. Can't remember what they said. Don't know, won't know. 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 God darn, shoot the bed. Story 22. They kept feeding me their weird alien food called something spacey like Xanax. They also implanted visions into my brain showing my mom crying while mumbling, "It's all my fault he's like this." Story 23. I was on my home moon, just minding my own business, when these dudes in a shuttlecock-shaped thing parachuted down almost right on top of me. They bound me, gagged me, then took me to a secret underground facility on the Big Blue Marble. I'm still there today, 54 years later. Help me. Story 24. One of my old high school friends believes she was abducted when we were in our teens. She said that one evening she was hanging out in bed, drawing in her sketchbook. A pair of lights like headlights on a car caught her eye out the window, but when she looked properly, she could see that the lights were higher up above the road than they should have been. And there was no noise. The lights continued getting closer to her apartment building and eventually shone right into her window. She blinked, and next thing she knew, she was lying down in bed under the covers, and the sun was coming up. Story 25. It went from daylight to dark in a blink. My mom walked by where I should have been if I was asleep, but I wasn't there apparently, and I'll never forget that. Maybe it was aliens, never figured it out. When I was 7 or 8, during the summer, midday around noon, I'm home sitting by the door, looking into the lagoon waiting for my mom to come home. I blink and it's now nighttime. Quick as that. No fatigue, no sleep, just a blink. Hours have gone by and I'm sitting in the same spot, wide awake, except it's dark out. Just a blink. My mom is in the kitchen making food and playing music when